Alright, we're back at you. Well, I am, and we have some unfortunate news to start off. Actually, earlier today ran through the entire card, and a Windows update automatically muted internal desktop audio, and we didn't notice it when we were recording, so the whole hour plus um, stream was just my voice on mic talking to air as the other three just weren't recorded. So I'm just here to obviously give us a rundown still on this card. I'll go over quickly what everyone has, some of the lines we talked over, and just try to give a quick condensed version so we can still get something out to you guys. As always, we have the Discord. That's where we're all talking, and even currently, and gem section. So if you have questions and you want us to break stuff down how we broke it down originally, where you can get all four of us, me, Mo, Unk, and Hot Hand, obviously join that. Links in the description. You should be in there already. And we'll break it down how we did and we originally talked. A lot of these lines are contested, and we agreed on that, so I can be able to break down this pretty quickly. Try to see some of these lines that we already touched on. But with that being said, I'll get us started and start with Fatima Kline versus Melissa Martinez. So overall, what we said here was Melissa Martinez, good striking background, karate style, can use front kicks to create distance. We don't see her getting knocked out here as she's tough. Only one loss. We see Fatima Kline and her grappling prowess, and she's not a slacker in the striking department. And her previous experiences versus Jasudavicius was way bigger. We think she's going to be able to use her strength to possibly get to the ground. Minus 1200 is steep. Personally, I like the submission at plus 310. I know also Unk like the submission. I believe Mo liked the decision, but also the over 2.5 was a hot hand and Mo's play. They like the over in this one, which you can't go wrong in a women's fight. I think that the submission's there with the black belt acumen of the team Kline against someone who's not well versed in the ground and is mostly striking like Martinez. Can't hate the dart throw on a plus 7 to 800 dog in this situation, but overall, I think the team Kline is going to be too much for her, and everyone agrees on that. Then Mike Davis versus Mitch Ramirez. So this is another wide line. We went pretty in depth on this one, and we agreed this line is way too wide. I think Mitch Ramirez has this fight way closer than whatever this is being expressed as, and they have almost equal grappling, which is a point that Unk brought up with their backgrounds. Mike Davis just comes from a better school. Then we have the striking. Mike Davis is probably more well versed on the feet, whereas Mitch Ramirez is down for a scrap. He is durable. He can last. He's lasted over around Carlos Prates and has fought at 170 before. Mike Davis, I don't know what warranted the minus 1,000. All of us are not really understanding that. It's not worth throwing him on a parlay at minus 1,000. We all pretty much see Mike Davis winning, but we see this fight a lot more close to even than whatever this line is. Mike Davis, I personally like the round 2 to start, yes. And I also like maybe an over 1.5 here. That's probably where I'm going to lean with it. And that's where we all pretty much went with that. We think Mike Davis is going to win, but this line is ridiculous and out of way. So yeah, an over might be in order. But overall, not a fight you want to run to the counter on. Then we got an interesting bout, Kenny Nzechukwu and Walter Walker, and what it really came down to was Kenny Nzechukwu either knocking this dude out, or Walter Walker using his strength and pressure to come over here and grab him to the ground, and try to employ some type of submission game or crotch sniff for multiple rounds. I know personally I like the under 2.5 at minus 125 or something along those lines. I believe there was a double chance mentioned with knockout and submission. It was Kenny Nzechukwu by knockout or Volter Walker by submission. That's a double chance on DraftKings. Another appropriate line. Uh, Unk made a statement that Kenny Nzechukwu is one of the few people who really connects on the end of his shots well, especially in his heavyweight division. So that's something to look out for because Volter Walker does keep his hands down and doesn't get sloppy in exchanges when he's charging. He has been hit in multiple fights, even against Tafa, uh, losing losing the striking exchanges and just using his power to bring him down. You have seen Kenny Nzechukwu brought down at light heavyweight by guys like Ian Cutelaba and people like that. But is Walker going to be able to get this out of here before they get sweaty and then Nzechukwu can pick him apart on the feet? That's the real question. I lean the under. Uh, I believe we're all in agreement pretty much on Kenny Nzechukwu, but this line is getting to the point where it's a bit wide. I think the striking from Nzechukwu might be able to pay off, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get held down. This weight difference might not be as pronounced, especially because Kennedy's starting to fill into his heavyweight body, and Walker has been thinning his last multiple fights, coming down pounds. He might be settling now at the 240 range. We'll see. This is definitely a fight to look on the scales and to look live wise. If you could see how the stylistic clash of wrestler versus striker um, comes on, and you can see how it happens. That's my overall prediction is Kennedy. Uh, there's a couple. I'm trying to think about what Hot Hand liked here. I think Hot Hand was scared of the undersized Kennedy here up at heavyweight. So he's timid. He's not saying any locks in here. I think he leans Kennedy too, but he sees Walker as a threat with the submission game. Then we have Eduardo Moura, Lauren Murphy, the corpse of Lauren Murphy. We all agreed she shouldn't be fighting. And this one probably pretty short. Moura should be able to get a decision. This is not, it's stretch lines. Even the decision line, you're getting near minus 200. Our overall goal in this one is to see if Lauren Murphy can use her veteran versatility in the first round to give us a favorable line going into round two. Because I'm not touching this line pre-fight, and none of us advise you to. So I think this is a fight where you hop in, you hope it's close in the first round, and you can get more maybe closer to minus 200 if possible after round one. But other than that, we all didn't really like it. Lauren Murphy shouldn't be fighting. She has other stuff going on. How much is she really training? Uh, she hasn't fought in over 2 years. Mora's on the rise, and she has a split decision against Denise Gomes. I just don't think that Lauren Murphy's going to be able to get a W here. I don't know if she's going to be able to get finished though. I don't think that Moura. I don't know. It's a tough call, but try to get a live line on Moura. Then we got another. This was a contested bout. I'm pretty sure we were split on this one as we were thinking. I'm pretty sure Unk and Mo were on Cheaty due to his striking ability. They foresee the knees up the middle when Jake Matthews is closing distance to be a key in this fight. Cheaty great in the clinch work, and if Jake Matthews isn't going to be able to grapple, and Cheaty has a huge frame, huge body, if Jake Matthews can't grapple efficiently, they view it as he's not going to win on the feet. Me and Hot Hand, we are. I'm still split, obviously, but I think that Jake Matthews' striking is underrated, and I think he's being doubted here. I think the line, it's shifting. He was the favorite to start. Um, he has some solid boxing. He's gonna probably have more output and volume than Cheaty, who's pretty flat footed. But like Unk and Mo stated originally, the knees in the middle and the clinch work is gonna be probably pushing Jake Matthews away from that game style for that game plan. And I don't know what would be his key then. If he's gonna be able to make this fight dirty, or is he gonna have to stand at range with a guy like Cheaty? I think the durability and the levels of Matthews versus who's Cheaty's fought is gonna be big. You have Jake Matthews going to decision with guys like Morales. Meanwhile, cheating the Njokuani getting finished by guys like McCall Olajaychuk. So that was my point of emphasis. It's a fight you got to see on the scales, and it's a fight you might want to play live as well to see how the game plan goes against each other. But yeah, if Jake Matthews can't get him down, I think he might have some success in the striking, but it's gonna be a close one throughout. Might be a live line, but you might want to play around with some spreads. Jake Matthews only finished one time in his entire career by knockout, and that was by Kevin Lee back in 2016 when Kevin Lee was on a tear. So, and he was 21 years old. Jake Matthews coming into his prime here at 30 years old, cheating Njokuani at 36. Fighters with 6 years age gap is over 60% in favor of the younger fighter. Cheaty's big though. I just don't really value the Dos Santos win as high. I was on Cheaty there. We're split here, 2-2. So if you want to ask more about the breakdowns, obviously hit the Discord, and we can all four of us give you our reasonings on why we picked what. But we're all pretty much recognizing that the other side of the fight is still alive to win. Then we have Chris Curtis versus Max Griffin. Um, Even though Chris Curtis is coming down a weight class here, we still see him as the more well-rounded fighter. They're both old. This is another retirement home fight. Max Griffin at 39 years old, Chris Curtis at 37. I know Hot Hand is very heavy. This is his lock of the card, Chris Curtis. And then Unk wants to stay away because of the former eye problem and the easily cut scar tissue above Curtis's eye that could play an impact if Griffin is able to establish the jab and get the cut open, which with scar tissue like that could happen. We just think personally that this is a levels fight, and that Chris Curtis is coming from a fight with Roman Kopylov, who is on a way different level than Max Griffin of power and everything. We think that Curtis is going to be able to get it done. I know Mo was hinting at he has a gut feeling somehow of Curtis getting a finish. That's not my opinion or any of our other of our opinions, but that's his personal gut feeling that he could see Curtis getting a finish here against Max Griffin, 39 years old. And Curtis isn't no spring chicken, but Max Griffin's even older, and I don't think he's on the same level here, and we all pretty much agree there. But Unk is a little skeptical, and he said he can't bet on Chris Curtis, so keep that into account, and you can ask him more on his reasoning. And there's our quick little rundown. Obviously, this is brought to you by the Fade Factory. Free Discord links in the bio, as I said before. All sports just cashed on the Scottish Open last night. We actually just signaled out a free play for the Scottish Open round 2 happening in a couple hours here. But it's a free chord, and we also have our paid gem section. Last weekend over 20,000, or not last weekend, last card over $20,000 in profits for our gem members. They all pay $10 or $25 for 3 months. So the insane return right there is unheard of at that level. Then last weekend we had Mo, Unk, and Hot Hand absolutely frying up on PFL Mana Europe. Thousands of dollars there for our subscribers. Where there was no UFC, absolutely cooked those lower leagues and lower brackets. And then we have our university section, all the other tools in there that we have. I have a batter strikeout projection model that's on fire right now, all free. We have one of the best bases, and the edge is undeniable. So choice is yours at this point. Get right or get left in 2025. Is what we're all saying. Now we're at the main event, and the main point of this one was we looked at the picture of Junior Tafa and how he's looking at 205 now. He's ripped, no love handles, and we just think that they're both very low-level fighters, and this is the bottom of the barrel when you're looking at 205. Tokkos is 0-2 in Bellator, 0-2 in the UFC, and although he does have grappling acumen, he was getting out-grappled by City Kickboxing's Navajo Sterling. I don't know if his grappling is going to be able to, even though Junior Tafa has some really bad takedown defense, I don't know if he's going to be able to consistently hold down Tafa. And if he is inflict much damage down there, I can see him possibly crotch sniffing his way to a victory. But overall, I think Junior Tafa is going to find the chin. I think he's in shape. I think Tokkos shells up too much, and that's where Junior Tafa is going to strive with his striking. We were all pretty much unanimous on the Tafa win, even though we know that this is low level MMA here. So obviously take that with a grain of salt and realize that there's other plays out there. But pretty high confidence on Tafa. That's for Unk. Unk's lock of the card was Junior Tafa money line. thinks he's flatlining Tokkos. We just hope. And we had a couple Aussies in the court. We now have Max. I'll give him a shout out in here. He's going to send the picture. Max is a big Aussie, so I know he's rooting for Tafa. But obviously acknowledge that Tokkos takedowns could be a factor, and he could cross stiff his way to a victory. So don't load up over here. Don't pay over 250. Don't pay extremely steep lines. Maybe you can get a live line, but I think Tafa can get him out of there fast with the striking. But it's going to be a contested bout. And I also want to note that Tuco Tokkos has fought at 185 middleweight before. Meanwhile, Tafa is coming down from formerly being at heavyweight. So the size difference is going to play a factor here, with Tokkos being able to hold him down. That is the big question. Vitor Petrino and Austin Lane. Two terrible fighters, and that's pretty much what we talked about this whole time. I know that one of the sneaky plays here was Hot Hand saying Austin Lane takedown is plus 250 just because of his overall size and frame difference to Vitor Petrino, and how Austin Lane should be trying to strike with this dude, but he's going to get flatlined. Vitor Petrino is a fraud, though, and he's on our ban list for losing to Anthony Smith, who's also on the ban list. Shooting into guillotines. So, this fight was pretty much all hatred. I'm not paying minus 600. And if it was anyone but Austin Lane, I'd say to fade Vitor, but I think Vitor flatlines him here. There wasn't really much that really stood out. An under, maybe, but this is maybe a live line fight. If you could get Austin Lane fighting well in the first. I know that Mo said they're both so bad that he would possibly take a shot on the round 2 to start no at plus 100. So that's his read from it. I don't know how I'm playing it. I might just use a pass on this. That's how most of us viewed it. But if you want more depth, you can ask us around. I'm not loving this line anyway, really anywhere on the board, even the takedown props and stuff. So we'll find something eventually. Morgan Charriere and Nate Landwehr. I know we're split on this somewhat. The overall verdict was Morgan Charriere doesn't get finished, but he loses a lot of decisions. Nate Landwehr fighting at home. He's going to make this competitive. I know me and Hot Hand looked at the plus 7.5 for Nate Landwehr at minus 175, or down to all the way down to a spread at plus 3.5 at minus 120. He has power. Morgan Charriere has been wobbled, but he hasn't been finished. A lot of fights under his belt. Huge age difference, although Nate Landwehr fighting around his hometown. It's a sketchy place. The line's a little steep for Morgan here, especially coming off a loss. It's just this is a scary play here when you're looking at it. I'd have to run back to see exactly what we were looking at line wise, but I'm fairly certain it was. I know that that Mo was taking a shot on Nate Landwehr at home. I personally lean Morgan Charriere by decision, but I don't like. This is also a fight that you want to get a live line on. I'm not saying to pay minus 275 here for Morgan Charriere. I think this is going to be a really contested bout. And though Nate has been put out before, I think he's durable enough to last a certain amount. And over might be in play here, as well as possibly fight to go the distance. I think this one's going to be contested. I know Mo suggested possible split decision lines. I think to go to split decisions within the 400s. And you play around with those because Morgan Charriere does be losing close decisions and he goes to a lot. So that could be a look here. It's going to be closer than the minus 275 line says. The big age difference, though, is what worries us. Steve Garcia, Calvin Kattar. This is another one. We broke this down pretty deep, and I know Mo considers Steve Garcia a lock. Calvin Kattar, not much older, but he is getting out there in age. Hot Hand said the hips from Garcia are solid, and the transitions, that's going to play a factor here. And he has way more power. I think he's the less technical striker, but this line's pretty close. And Mo doesn't agree with him. Mo thinks it should be a bit wider on the end of Steve Garcia because he's way more well-rounded, and it's going to hurt Calvin Kattar at times and possibly even get a finish. I don't think it's going to go finish. I think you can possibly play around some spread lines because, in my opinion, Calvin Kattar has gone 5 rounds with the likes of Josh Emmett. He's gone 5 rounds with Kika Chikadze, who might not have as much power. The technicalities there. Even his last fight, Zalal, he goes 3 rounds with Zalal, who was coming back and in and out of range and going on his bicycle and pretty much forcing Kattar to chase him around the ring. That's not what Steve Garcia does. He's going to go in there, he's going to strike. I lean Steve Garcia as well. I think the power is he's going to have bigger shots, but I would not be surprised if Calvin Kattar comes and steals this and shows that there's levels. Steve Garcia does have good W's against Melky Costa, but he has been put down by guys like Mahashate. So I don't know if he can get put out here by Calvin Kattar. He could definitely get cut up in some of these exchanges. Um, it's a tough call for me. It really is a tough call for me. Calvin Kattar has fought some really good competition. I'm not 100% sold on Garcia yet. Even when he beat Costa, he was getting grabbed against the cage and showing some weakness in the clinch. That's my opinion of what I saw. It's just I don't know. There's not a lot that's I love about Steve Garcia minus the power. That's really what I love here from him. So take that as you may. I probably leave Steve Garcia, but I would not be. I think it's a 50-50 fight. I think the line's accurate. I think it's a pick 'em fight. And the age difference isn't that big. 37 and 34, I believe, or 37 and 33. It's not that pronounced. That's not a huge difference. Calvin Tarr still got it, in my opinion. I didn't hate his performance against the wall, not whatsoever. So we'll take a look there. Now yeah, Gabriel Bonfim and Stephen Thompson. We all agree that the plus 350 line for Thompson's a bit wide. While some of us don't think that he's gonna win, well, most of us don't think he's gonna win the fight. The plus 350 is a bit wide, considering that he could bring Gabriel Bonfim into his realm of technicality and point fighting. And if Gabriel Bonfim doesn't go to the grappling game, which Stephen Thompson does have a notable submission defensive game, and an underrated jiu-jitsu game, as Unk noted, Gabriel Bonfim he has some very slick jiu-jitsu. He does have some pretty powerful striking. I just think that the overall grappling game is going to give him the boost. I don't want to play around round props, maybe over 1.5. I think I know that Unk said that the round two to start. I don't remember the odds on that off the top of my head as a parlay piece, but that Stephen Thompson's too smart to get finished in round one. I believe so, at least against Gabriel Bonfim. Minus 450 here. It's a straight it's a jiu-jitsu versus karate matchup, but Stephen Thompson, hot hand noted, he's old. He's over 40, I believe, off the top of my head right here. And how many times is he really drilling takedown defense in camp? How much is he really doing mat returns? How much is he really grinding, going against the cage, getting in these dirty practices rather than just striking and practicing his notable flow state type of striking in the karate realm? So, well, not everyone thinks he's gonna get subbed. My official prediction is a submission for Gabriel Bonfim. I know the over, and I think hot hand leans it going to a decision because, or I think hot hand said he wants to stay away from the round props, but that an over may be in play for some of the opinions voiced. It's just Stephen Thompson at plus 350 is always going to be appealing against a guy who's not as proven yet, and Gabriel Bonfim. Minus 450 is pretty steep to take on a money line, and I wouldn't personally take it. I'd probably try to take a live line. What was mentioned was if Stephen Thompson has some success in the striking and can defend a takedown in round one, and he can strike his way, he could probably get a good line on Gabriel Bonfim after round one, somewhere more in the respectable realm. We'll move over to the main event. We're all pretty much on Texeira here. We think that Derek Lewis, he's getting up there in age. He wants to fight these taxi cab driver. He doesn't want to be fighting these guys like Texeira. While he always has a puncher's chance, I was the only one who agreed with this. I think that he's going to have to take a slightly different approach here. I think he might have to close the distance and wrestle, which he has in the past. He's taken on the likes of Marcin Tabora, some of the other guys. I know he took down Rodrigo Nascimento, who's not the best guy with takedown defense, but you never know. And his takedown line is at plus 500, so listen as you may, they hated on me for that pick, but we just think that Thompson's share is too quick in the striking, and we just foresee some type of early knockout. You could take like I think it was the same game parlay Tyson Texeira knockout under 3.5 rounds at around minus 170 ish, minus 140 I think it was for the under 3.5 and the under 4.5 at the minus 170 ish mark. I think this fight's ending pretty early. I don't think Mo said to go anything under 3.5 rounds, but there's always a puncher's chance from Derek Lewis. Oh, the fight to end in knockout. And I got it at minus 380. It moved since then to minus 430 on FanDuel, which is still a respectable price for a parlay piece. I think that you can add that on anything because this fight's ending by knockout more than likely. Minus 430 on FanDuel now compared to minus 1,000 on DraftKings. It still has value on FanDuel. You can take that in a parlay with something that you think it's slightly too juiced, like a minus 200 pick, bring it down to the realm of normalcy. And I think that's a really high confidence pick, just how I had Ilya Taporia in every single parlay last week. 100% confidence, which is not a smart strategy long term, but I don't ever do it. This is one of those picks. I think someone's going to sleep here. And I think it's Talos and Charriere are going to knock out Derek Lewis. Our parlay for the collab. Let me pull it up in front of me here. We had a four-legger, and the lines were you can take this on any book, by the way. Any sports book you can take this line. You have plus 322. You have Mitch Ramirez and Mike Davis. Fight to start round two, yes. Minus 200, that's my pick. Talos and Texeira, money line. That is Mo's pick. Junior Tafa money line. That is Unk's pick. And Chris Curtis money line. That is Hot Hands pick. That gives you a plus 322 on DraftKings. You can definitely get better odds elsewhere with those lines. I know FanDuel has the round two to start props. Don't get mad if you take the over 1.5 when we say take round two to start and your shit bust. We're on a two pick streak here on the podcast. I still have to get this video out, even though our whole hour and a half plus video got nuked pretty much with the Windows update. I was talking and I had it ready to upload to YouTube, and it was me talking to myself. So I had to just get out here really fast and still try to get a podcast episode out, and we did. So obviously the questions that you guys had, since we didn't go as in depth and I didn't have the other people here to back up what I said, even though I touched on most of their points, if not all of them. Join the Discord for free, obviously, in the description, and we'll talk through all these fights. Obviously, we still have a lot of stuff to go with the scales and stuff, which is the biggest part of this. A lot of these are going to be dependent on face-offs and how guys are looking up there. So we'll talk more about it tomorrow, which is the big thing. So any questions, you can comment below. We can break it down for any of us, or you can join the Discord, join Gems, or even just the free section, and we'll get right. I appreciate you guys for listening to it. I apologize for not having our full length usual breakdown. We'll have one next week for sure. And I have everything figured out now with the volume and all the settings. And we'll see you at the cash counter. Thanks for joining again.